can you think of and can you give examples of companies who are doing some good engagement strategies, and ways in which we can engage Gen Zs, and what's been working? What have you seen?
Well, one suggestion that I'd like to share with you is what I call more just-in-time learning. Gen Zs, they understand the need for continuous learning. They want to learn, they're dying to learn. And so, rather than having these formal type courses, it's more in terms of small bites, but also things that are relevant that can be put and applied immediately, as opposed to, well, you might get down the road, you may need something like this, and then people forget. So that kind of just-in-time learning is really very powerful because people get it, they absorb it, and they can use it right away, which helps the company advance. But of course, that does require some planning on management's part as to what those tidbits are. And we talked about the onboarding process. But it's not just your first week, but that over a period of time, like the end of the week. So how did you have any questions? Even on the first day, who do you go to when you have questions, right? But that follow-up to say, we're checking in to make sure that, things are going smoothly after a week, after a month, after 3 months, after 6 months, and each of those intervals provide an opportunity to say, "Oh, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?" And those could also be teaching opportunities for the organization to learn about how they can improve their onboarding process. To also identify, well, maybe that manager could use a little training. We assume that leadership is perfect and almighty. Well, they have a lot of power. I don't doubt that. But there's room for improvement, and continuous because so much of it is uh, using our own awareness, how we're coming across, how people misinterpret what we're saying. I mean, communication is a huge, huge part of this, in terms of managing Gen Z's expectations about what we can do and what we can't do. I mean, it's one thing to say, I want to learn, I want flexibility, I want financial stability. Well, that's nice. Not school anymore, where you go to class, take your exam, and you get promoted. And that happens after how many semesters and on. The real world isn't linear like that. I mean, I look at my own career. I zigged and zagged. And, sometimes it was a lateral move, sometimes it was moved up. And so understanding those expectations and helping to manage them about, what's realistic and that it isn't always as easy as checking off a box. Well, now I'm owed a promotion. Well, that's nice, but where are you going to go? Organization doesn't have an opening. Does that mean you go someplace else? Well, maybe it does. But, you've had a great relationship working with Hannah. Don't think you're going to find Hannah over there, right? You might, you might not. You might find a real command and control person who'll pay you a lot of money, but forward in other ways. So assuming that everything is static and that you can just always keep adding and improving, that's not always the case. There's trade-offs. So helping manage expectations and communication strategies. I shouldn't even say strategies. It's about that relationship. It's that social contract. It's about recognizing you're having a bad day. Okay, I understand. Let's take a break. Let's focus on a different deadline. Let's see what other resources we can help bring to bear. It's having that human connection of building goodwill as opposed to transactional. I gave you more benefits. There's more goodies in the break room. Now you owe me this. I mean, that's just hard. It doesn't need to be. We're people. We're human.